Well, hello to all my Facebook family, Facebook friends. Welcome to another edition of Parks Investigative Live. I'm your host, Investigative Parks. You don't want to miss tonight's program. As I say every time I come on, I always try to find some of the most distinguished guests to join the program and give their feedback. And tonight, none other, we have a great group of panelists that will be joining me shortly. Guys, you don't want to miss. This is dealing with relationship and counseling part 2. We had a good feedback on last week's segment, and we decided to go ahead and do it again. We have none other than Dr. Robert J. Ray, who will be joining the program, as well as another special guest that I didn't put in my promo video because we communicated just within the hour or so ago to bring him on, and he's my good friend, Mr. Derek Wash, Officer Wash, that is, and we will be joined shortly by author Richard Helen. He's no stranger to the program. He's the author of a couple books, very decent books, I would say. And one is in particular is dealing with marriage, relationship success that I have here that I ordered myself off Amazon. So he'll be joining us too to talk about relationship and counseling. And guys, without delaying it any further, we're going to go ahead and bring up the panelists now. And first to join me is my good friend, Mr. Robert Ray. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here again.
Absolutely. I love that background. Love that background. I got to figure out how I can spice it up so you won't be seeing the back of my wall.
Okay.
All right. Second guest, and I mentioned him earlier, is a good friend of mine, Mr. Derek Wash. Welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Are you excited about what we're going to be talking about tonight, dealing with relationships?
Oh, you better believe I am. I am very excited. Even the wife was excited. She wanted to be a part of it, but I think she's still in there putting the makeup on.
Okay, but she's going to be tuning in and watching, right?
She works from home, so I think she's still on, technically still on the clock.
Okay. And I see in my back screen, I do have my special guest also, Mr. Richard Helen. He's going to be joining us shortly. I see his camera feed is live. I'm waiting for him to step in front of the camera. We'll bring him on. We'll give him time to get ready. The guys, again, if you, guys and gals, I should say, you don't want to miss tonight's program, Relationship Counseling Part 2. If you missed last week's program, you don't want to miss tonight. Again, we have some experience, as I would say, experienced counselors and book authors on the program. We have even law enforcement here, too, who also deal with domestic issues within relationships. So any question you have, you want to post it on the comment section, please do so. We're going to try to answer all questions. Any comments you have, suggestion, hey, put it out there. We're going to get it. And without delaying it any further, I'm going to bring my last special guest on. I just saw him take a seat, and I'm going to bring his feet up shortly. And he's none other than author Mr. Richard Helen. Mr. Richard Helen, can you hear us well?
Yes, sir. Can y'all hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Helen, I'm sorry to catch you at a busy time of your life, but I could not have not given you the invitation dealing with relationship before you got on. I was telling people, you have a book dealing with this particular topic. Let me get where you can see it: marriage and relationship success. I put it in my promo advertisement, and I no other person I could have asked to come on this program and do this other than yourself. So thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you,
and joining the program again. All right. I think we kind of froze up on Mr. Helen, but nonetheless, we'll get back to him. Mr. Robert Ray, for those who do not know you or missed the program last week, if you would go ahead and give a brief introduction, please.
My name is Robert J. Ray. I've been a professional counselor therapist for over 45 years, and I've dealt with a lot of relationships, and I fixed a lot of people's relationship. And you can either do two things. Either you can get them together where they can be in harmony and have a loving relationship, or you can get them apart where they shouldn't have been together in the first place. And I'm going to cover some of those reasons that they shouldn't have been together and some things that will push them apart and cause coals in the relationship.
All right, Mr. Helen, I know this is your second or third time on the program, but I want to go ahead and bring you up and just give a brief introduction of yourself for those who do not know you.
Hey, my name is Richard Helen. I'm a professional speaker, coach, and author. I'm a John Maxwell speaker, and I have a passion for relationships. So what I've done is I teach leadership. So what I've done is I've incorporated what leadership looks like in relationships. So that's what I hope to talk about today.
All right, thank you so much for that. And I'll bring in my last guest, Mr. Wash. If you would give a brief introduction and tell us about yourself.
Greetings. My name is Derek Wash. I'm a law enforcement veteran over almost 20 plus years. Been in marriage going on 11 years, and just very happy to be here and excited tonight. I think, a perspective is needed from not just the speakers and the author, but from an actual married person as well. So I'm very glad to be here to provide the additional commentary.
All right, absolutely, guys. Thank you again for joining the program. Bear with me. I'm doing the production. I'm doing the back screen things. I'm trying to edit my sound bites and everything because we had a guest that so far have not entered the live screen who was invited, and hope to hear from her tonight. And that's Dr. Ashley Harris, who also wanted to chime in on this topic. But without delaying any further, we're going to go ahead and get into tonight's discussion. I do want to, before we go into the relationship topic, I think it's very appropriate to talk about some of the news across the nation, specifically locally here in Mississippi. I don't know if you guys follow the news like I do, CNN or ABC, World News, whatever your particular news source. But Mississippi made world news this past week, and that's with our governor, Governor Tate Reeves, who was invited on CNN's Jake Tapper's. I can't think of the name of his program, but I think it's the Situation Room or one of those particular shows. But anyway, and I'm going to paraphrase, but during that particular interview with the Mississippi governor, he was asked about the very serious COVID numbers here in Mississippi. And I think the question was asked to the governor, Mississippi, if it was a country of its own, we would have the second most death per capita in the world. And the question was asked, Governor, what are you going to do differently to combat these numbers? Because whatever you have done previously is not working. And the governor went all around. If you guys saw that interview, he went all around the question. He started blaming the Biden administration, basically saying that the Biden administration was withholding sending the micro. Give me the word that they're using for the infusion, Mr. Helen. What is that? The micro.
I can't think of it. You close. I can't think of it right now, but I was just talking about.
Come on, Dr. Ray. What's the IV that they're giving the COVID patients to combat the virus? It's
ivermectin. I think it's ivermectin or remdesivir.
No, it's not the medicine. It's actually the infusion.
Ivermectin is what it's called.
Okay. Yeah, ivermectin.
All right. So basically, the governor was talking about.
I think you're talking about the one that they say people that have the immune system and have had it before,
right?
And now they're giving those blood to the individual that to try to keep them from getting it because they develop a immunity to it. This
right,
infusion
helps fight the virus, right? Well, I thought I had a sound bite. Which I do have a soundbite. I got to get it uploaded. It's going to take me a few minutes, and I'm going to play it later in the program. I know we're kind of getting off subject when we're dealing with relationship, but I wanted to point that out. And other news that made headlines over the week. I don't know if you guys saw the video where the U.S. Marshal was doing a search warrant on arrest warrant on an individual involved in killing of a young child. And doing that arrest, it was a black male suspect. As they were escorting him out the house, one of the U.S. Marshals reached back and just cold cocked him in the side of the face. Did you guys see that video?
I missed that one.
Mr. Helen, did you see that video?
Oh, I missed that one.
Man, you guys don't watch the news, huh?
Yeah, we watch the news. I can't catch it all, though.
Yeah, I saw that whip on the black people. I saw that.
Yeah, that made headlines as well. So
pushed away up from that because that shouldn't take place in this day and age.
We got a lot of things to talk about, guys, but again, we're going to get back on topic. We're going to be dealing with relationship part 2. For those who are just now tuning in, I do see some new viewers since we signed on. This is Parks Investigative Live. I'm your host, Investigator Parks. Special guest tonight to my right, Mr. Dr. Robert J. Ray, 40-year counselor in the business. And to my bottom is Mr. Officer Derek Wash, law enforcement veteran, and also current law enforcement. He's going to chime in as well to the relationship issues that we face, and also book and author. Let me say this. Also, Robert Ray is also a book and author as well of many books. So I forgot to mention that. But also another author at the bottom, my bottom right, is Mr. Richard E. Helen. Couple books that I got out because I've already read them, but I want to point them out. A couple books that I have of Mr. Richards. One is If You Lead, People Will Follow. Great book, guys. I would encourage you to purchase that book. And one that we're going to be dealing with tonight, Marriage and Relationship Success. Also, so guys, we have the author of that book at the bottom, and he's going to chime in. So you don't want to miss tonight's program. We're going to start right into it. Dr. Robert Ray, you're the 40-year veteran. Give us part 2 of the relationship we talked about last week, problems inside the relationship. What's the number one reason for breakup now?
So it's one that my neighbor pointed out to me. It's a whirlwind romance going on between Janae and Nicholas down at WTOK. Now, if I would have been their counselor, I would have advised them not to get in a relationship, especially putting it on Facebook like they've done, because my mentor, when I was first becoming a counselor, he cautioned all of us: don't ever get into a romantic relationship with people who you work with. And I found that to be true, because I've seen so many people get victimized and fired from the job because they would be arguing on the job. Oh, why was you down there talking to her? And or why was he talking to this individual here? And I would advise them, it was a too hurried thing. They should have gotten to know each other, become friends first, and then work together first. Now, if Nicholas decide that, hey, he want to move on to another flower, then he's got to go and look at Janae down there every day. And then you got 2 factions. You have a faction on her side, and then you have a faction on his side. And this is a good example of how people get victimized by jumping into these relationships too quickly before they become friends. And it end up in a disaster. And both of them could end up getting fired. And a lot of people could end up mean mugging each other down there at the TV station. But they didn't think about this, because young people, they just go into it. They don't run it through their consciousness or how this would affect their job and their families. And it just was not a real rational thing to do. But people fall in love and they want to be seen, and both of them are high profile. And like I say, it's on Facebook now, and getting a lot of feedback, I guess, about what's going on. But if I would advise them, I would advise them not to get into a relationship.
All right, Mr. Helen, you want to chime in on what Dr. Ray said?
Reiterate the question so I can make sure that I answer you correctly.
What I was saying is that we had this young lady come down from Colorado. She's a television personality. And Nicholas, he's a television personality. And they both work at the same TV station, WTOK. And my neighbor informed me that they had got into a romantic relationship, and they was putting it on Facebook. And I told him, I said, if it was me, I would advise them not to jump into a relationship so soon, working together down there, because a lot of those come. What if one finds somebody else that they like better? What if they get into the sexual thing and one back out? Like most men do it. Nicholas, he just seemed like a little player himself, a little playboy. And he probably got so many women coming at him, he have to beat them out with a stick. But yet and still, he's gotten into this relationship with Janae, and what's going to happen when he, taste the zone and then back off and want to go on to something else. Now they down there in the television station, trying to do their job, but yet, hating on each other down there. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm in a complete agreement with you. There used to be a saying that it was referred to dogs, and you don't crap, you don't eat where you crap at. Because it never, for the most part, never really works out. So that would definitely be some really good advice. You usually don't. It's just not a good thing, because, like you said, if something goes south, then you bring that to the job, and it ends up causing you to be terminated, written up, or it's just not a good thing to do. So I agree with you 100%. But I think the initial question was, Investigator Parks mentioned something about issues. Was that the question, Investigator Parks? Issues about when it comes to relationships or something like that?
Yeah, that's what we did last week. Sure.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, if I could chime in.
What do you think, Dr. Helen, about the relationship? Kind of give us some feedback on how you determine how you do your counseling. I did that last week, so you got to the floor this week.
Well, it just depends.
Did we lose?
Like we lost them both. Well, if I could chime in.
Okay, Mr. Derrick.
Well, I guess I'll be the anecdotal one here, but I actually met my wife on the job, but however, we worked in separate buildings, but we worked for the same agency, and I think it anecdotally speaking, it's the individual. You said by your admission. Now, I don't know these people in the Man in the Moon. He seems like a little player. Now, if you're already immature in the mind, it made no difference where you met him at. You're going to be immature regardless. So I met my wife of going on 11 years at work, but we had a mutual mature understanding that home stayed at home and work stayed at work, and we worked together for many years before I moved to a different agency and she left the state altogether. So it can be done, but it's all about maturity. And what I mean by that is, let me bring you to the scripture in 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and 40. Let all things be done decently and in order. Sounds like to me there was not any decency and any order from the get-go.
Well, yeah. Well, that's a good point you made. Now, the profession that you two people were in, you would have to have a lot of rationale, and you would have to understand that, hey, if we go into this relationship, that we can't let it interfere with us doing this job here. And evidently, you two people were able to do that. But I still wouldn't advise it, even with
I agree.
Carrying guns and stuff like that too. But yeah, it worked. I tell you, you guys must be soulmates because you was able to do it. But I've seen so many that go wrong. I worked out at the prison out there, and that's all they did was jump in one relationship.
Oh, don't get me started about the females in prison.
Be hollering down the hall, about this and that and the other. And a lot of them got fired because of that. You can't do it.
Well, again, like I said, it goes back to, the person's mindset. And what I like the way I describe it, again, I'm no therapist and no specialist, but I have been to therapy, which sets me apart from anybody else that's been divorced or had a heartbreak. I did sit down with a counselor and went through counseling and therapy, because the things that my ex put me through was not normal in my household. So, I recommend therapy wholeheartedly, but, that's a whole nother, subject. But I think with a lot of these couples nowadays, the maturity, they do what I like to call problem chasing. Let me explain what I mean by problem chasing. First little thing come up, you over here. This comes up, you over here. Money issue comes up, you over here. You're everywhere. And in reality, both of you haven't realized that you're flawed for the main reason that you're human. And instead of working on things, one wants to point it out to the other, and then the other points it back out because he wants to be on an equal footing. When what I mean by equal footing is when you take somebody who is insecure and starts to put the other person through emotional abuse, it's not necessarily to break them down, but it's to put them on an even playing field. And that's where all the issues come in, because people problem chase, and then they gotta feel like they got this leg up or this leg down, and then there's no communication.
It sounds like the tug of war syndrome to me. And that what you just said was really right on, because a lot of individuals, they don't be on the equal footing. They're not on equal stations. I tell you a little thing that happened to me when I was a teenager. I had me a 51 Chevrolet, and suddenly I went over to see this girl, but her parents was business people. They had business and they were successful. And I was going over to see their daughter, and the mother called me, say, Robert, come on in. And she sit me down and just stripped me upside down. Say that our daughter here is we getting her primed to be something special, and she's been used to the best. You know, has a beautiful home, right, 2 or 3 cars, and I drove up in my old 51 Chevrolet. And she just made me feel so bad. I was dragging, boy, Lord of the snake, but because she said, well, you're in the project. I mean, and you may finish high school, but you're not going to be, a fit individual for our daughter, the way we see it now. And, I come from a pretty good background. My, great granddaddy was the richest black man, but it wasn't my money. It wasn't me. I'm in the project. I'm just a project person. And she came and told me that, they would rather me not, get involved with their daughter, because they had some good things that they had planned for her, and they didn't see me really being up on her level. That's really what she told me. So I left there. I said I was trying to smile and be neighborly, man, but that had crushed me. But I got back home. Said they used to do that. They said that my grandmother used to tell her and my aunt not to go out and get with any sharecroppers. So
yep.
And that's where it was. I remember that all down the years.
But again, indifference doesn't necessarily is a bad thing. I mean, now that may have crushed your soul, but that didn't stop you who you are as a person, right?
No.
Exactly. But I mean, I'm all for pointing out the fact that we're all not equal and we all have different footing, and then there's indifference in everything. But in my humble opinion, indifference is only the opposite of tolerance. So for them to tell you that, you're a sharecropper or you're this and you're not going to be a fit for them, I mean, I would respect the parents' wishes, but then again, proving them wrong would be even better satisfaction, because I have experienced that myself, where this mother and father was super religious and they felt like I wasn't a good fit for their daughter. Okay. But they put them with somebody, and that person's been miserable ever since. So, again, but I went on to greater heights more so than the person that they felt like was the most fit. So, again, I don't have a problem with people pointing out differences in backgrounds and things like that, because your background don't define you. What I teach my children is history in and of itself is in the eye of the teller. It's not what a person does, it's what you have to contribute.
Dr. Helen, where are you at on some of this stuff? Because it's so many differences in relationships and people, especially male and female, and your different station. Well, it can be even your different financial status. Yeah, a lot of individuals want to get into a rich family's homestead and marry their rich daughter, the other way around. The poor daughter want to marry the rich, get in the rich guy's homestead. Do you see these relationships working out? Have you seen any work out like that? The one that's always rich, always the one that controls and tells what happened in this relationship.
I tell you what's important is, I mean, I'm gonna get to it in a little bit. What's really important is really the person's character. You know, you know, we can work on other things, but me and my wife did a video series. We're doing a video series as of this past week, and in Amos 3:3, he asked this question. He says, "Can two walk together except they be agreed?" But in Amos 3:3, he don't necessarily specify what they should be agreed upon. So me and my wife, before we got married and during our marriage, we had to agree to 5 things or we could not have gotten married. The first one is spiritual agreement. Are we yoked spiritually so? The second one is emotional agreement. One of you guys mentioned that before. What have you been through? How has what you've been through shaped you? Has what you've been through made you bitter or made you better? And whatever you've been through, what part of that do you own? Because if you don't own it, you're going to make me pay for it. So we had spiritual agreement, number 1, emotional agreement, number 2, financial agreement. How do you see money? How do you save money? How do you invest money? The fourth one is sexual agreement. What do you like sexually? What you don't like? What's on the table? What's off the table? And the last thing that we had to agree to was parental agreement. How are we going to raise our children? Because I'm married into a family. My wife had 2 children. And I had a son. So from what I can see and for what I teach, when people are aligned on those 5 issues, they're not just married. They have a happy marriage. But we oftentimes go into these relationships and we're unequally yoked on all those levels, spiritually, emotionally, financially, sexually, and all those things end up causing the demise of the relationship.
And we're already broken from a previous relationship and didn't bother to seek any help or therapy.
Here's why I say emotional agreement, right? So when you come out of a relationship, there's 3 things I think we need to do. Number 1, we need to reflect. Number 2, we need to process what happened and why it happened. And number 3, we need to own our part of it. I've asked probably 100 people. I used to keep a $100 bill in my wallet, and I would meet people that were divorced, and I would ask them what happened. Nobody owned their part. It was always someone else's fault as to the demise of the relationship. And if you don't own your part, it's going to make you bitter and not better.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Derrick.
You know, denial is at the root of all mental illness. You know, it's similar to the 5 stages of grief. You know, person's going to deny and what is said about them is true. Then there's going to be anger. Then there's bargaining. There's depression. Then there's acceptance. But most of the time, most people don't get out of the depression and the denial part. So it in and of itself is a mental illness. Again, Parks, I saw you came back in. You can vouch for this. When he and I were young police officers, a lot of people didn't know I was going through therapy. But I tell you, it was the best thing in the world. You know, every time the doors was open, I was in there. So, you know, it really shaped me in the way I look at relationships and things like that. And I have a simple little saying: life is all about balance. You know, plain and simple. You have to maintain an equilibrium because every mammal on this planet establishes an equilibrium with their environment, but humans do not, even with themselves in relationships.
Yeah, I was listening to what you guys were saying, and it came to me how I would counsel a lot of my clients back in the day, and one was religion was a big thing. Yeah, if you got one person that's in religion and the other one that don't care about religion, that's gonna cause colds. And then if you got a person who if they got different religion, that's gonna cause colds in the relationship. So it's so many things that could go wrong in that relationship, like you said. And one thing that I always try to do is deal with the what kind of sexual things that you have in it. Because a lot of females out at the prison used to ask me, well, why did he go out and cheat? I give it to him every time he wanted. And I say, well, that's your problem. That's your issue. But people don't understand that females, they want to be conjoined to their loved one constantly, all the time. Because love is constant. But the man, he's just inconstant and he alternates. He wants some sex sometime, and then most of the other time he want to hang with some of his friends, or he want to look at the sports, do other things, and she's still in the love making thing. She still want to be in it, and they don't understand each other. And then once I explain to them why it's like that, then they begin to see, then she can back off a little bit. And then he can say, well, I can see what the issues is now. And then once they begin to see that the reason that the sex is going south is because he's getting it too much, and she's trying to give it to him all the time because she thinks he's in love like she is. But it's not, because a man, he's in love sometime, and it's alternating. And then once they begin to see that and understand that and accept it, then they begin in a little more harmony in that. Did either one of y'all experience that?
Well, you know what I tell people when they ask me, you know, how is it y'all? How long? I mean, how is it possible that y'all been together so long? How is it this? How is it that? I said, you know, it's hard work. But then when you trying to explain something to them, you know, people want to suit things to, you know, help them feel better or, you know, justify their point of view. I tell them flat out. They said, well, why I can't have this or that? You know, like he was saying about the young lady giving him sex, but he still go out and cheat. Well, my response would have been, well, because you didn't make marriage and respect the requirement. That's why he's doing it. And would have made it just plain and simple. I said, the reason why you're not married and you have children out of wedlock is because you didn't make marriage and respect the requirement. My wife, as well as her mother, made it a requirement. Mr. Ray, we were in our 30s when we were dating. And did you know when I would go places with her and her mom would sit right in the middle?
Yeah, see, because she had taught her to be chaste. See, people, especially nowadays, don't even know what chaste means. You could ask females all day, are you chaste? Are you unchaste? And they wouldn't know what you was talking about. But I remember back during the days in the 50s and stuff, that was a prime thing that mothers did. They made their daughters be chaste. You didn't see no more than a sock. You didn't see any ankle. You didn't see but today they show.
They had to wear that sweater. They had to wear that cardigan sweater, yeah. Regardless of how hot it was outside.
And they taught them to be chaste. That is, you're getting yourself ready for one man and to get married. And that's what you do. And you don't have sex until the wedding night. That's what they would tell them. You know, even though once they started going together, they might deviate from that, but they would still understand what the issue was. But now there's so much unchasteness and lewdness going on with these young girls until after they give up their virginity, then the prince with the golden apples is not coming that way. So they end up getting whatever is left over, the dropouts and the losers and these type of individuals like this. But if you want the prince with the golden apples, you have to be chaste, because these individuals have been trained to look for the chaste females. And if they don't get them, they go on to something else. And if you got daughters that's showing everything that they got to everybody, then their prince with the golden apple, he's not going to come. He's not going to be there.
You know, it's just like another thing, too, that we don't talk about is fitness. You know, men nowadays are being asked to take a bad deal. You know, when you think about it, some ladies will come to you weighing more than a man does at their height and thinking they deserve the cream of the crop, and you don't. You know, it's like Kevin Samuels. Any of y'all familiar with Kevin Samuels? He said men want three things: fit, feminine, and cooperativeness.
Hey, let me
fit, feminine, friendliness.
Richard, and he dropped his head.
Oh, I don't care how a woman looks.
I want to get Richard to chime in because he was something was very funny. I want Richard to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care how a woman look. If a character is flawed or a man's character is flawed, it's not going to work. You don't usually hear people divorcing because someone gained weight. At least all the people I've counseled, no one has ever divorced their spouse because they gain weight. It's usually infidelity, usually lying, various other issues, but very seldom I've never heard anybody leave somebody because of their weight. I know the Bible says this, and I think it's pretty profound. You know, when he talks about he speaks about how he don't look at the outside of a man, but he what's on the inside of a man. And so I'm a very fit person. I've been wearing the same thing for the last 25 or 30 years, but when I asked God for a spouse, it had nothing to do with their physical characteristics. It had everything to do with their heart.
And then see, now you go again. You have to look at the manners of the female that you get with, and how and what do they think about a marriage, and they are going to be individuals that's going to listen to their husband and not be as lascivious as a lot of wives are. And this is what you got to look for, is the manners, and that's what I think you were saying, Dr. Helen, is that you were looking for that kind of character, and the way that they was trained up in the bath, the way they bathe, and the bathroom manner. I talked to a guy, and he said that his nieces, check this out. He said his nieces, 3 of them, they go to the restroom and they don't flush the commode. Where does that come from? That would have to come from the mother, not training them right. And if they go into any polite company or go to someone's house and visit and go in and use the bathroom and don't flush it, they may not get invited back there anymore. But these are just the things that happen that the mothers should train the daughters up to be. I mean, if you don't do that, then it's hard for them to get a husband, and it's hard for them to keep them after they get them. Now, what do y'all think about that? Have you ever heard anything?
Now, Mr. Ray, now you just said a mouthful right there about those manners and politeness and common decorum and things like that. You know, when I met my wife, like I said, you can tell her mother refined her because her mother was refined. You know, to stand up straight, one hand over the other, all that. You know, and like I said, you know, I'm not saying weight characteristics is the sole deciding factor. I'm just saying, you know, everything has a proper balance and an equilibrium to it. And, you know, you upset one thing, you throw off something else. And, you know, I'm not saying, you know, that it matters, but ask yourself a question. Dr. Richard. Can I call you Dr. Richard?
No, just Richard. Just Richard.
Richard, how many millionaires are looking for disproportionately shaped women?
I'm not really concerned with someone else looking for that. Yeah, I'm not really concerned as to what millionaires are looking for. I'm just telling you what I asked God for.
All right. Hey, guys, hold that thought. All right, guys, hold that thought real quick. We're going to take a pause real quick because I want to address some of our viewers. We're going to take a pause real quick and we're going to come back to it. So, guys, if you would stand by just momentarily, and we'll come right back. All right, guys. Thank you for joining. If you're already been joining, sorry for that. I had to take a quick pause to kind of reboot the internet, make sure the feedback was coming great. But again, you're watching Parks Investigative Live. I'm your host, Investigator Parks. I have our special guest, our panelists, join side with me, and that's none other than Officer Derek Wash. We have Dr. Robert Ray, and also my good friend, Mr. Richard E. Helen. Guys, thank you so much. Sorry to interrupt doing a very good question and I guess response from Helen, but we've been on a little over 30 minutes. I want to make sure I get that pause in there. And again, guys, I see a lot of comments on my personal page. Let me just say this. In order for me to see your comment or your question, you're going to have to go on to the Parks Investigative Live page. That's Parks Investigative Live. Like that page and put your questions and comments there. That way I can post those questions and comments on the live screen for everybody to see. If it's a good question, I deem that it's appropriate, I'll post those. But if it's on my personal page, I cannot see those questions. I do see a lot of people chiming in on my personal page, but go to Parks Investigative Live, like that page, and go ahead and post your questions and comments on that page. And I'll be able to share those comments and questions on this page. I just want to make sure I put that out there. So again, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. We're not going to be on too much longer. We're in a very good discussion. I was hoping I had my female panelists on tonight. That way we can have a little diversity there, because we got 4 males talking about relationships and giving our advice. I'm sure some women want to chime in as well. So I promise you, I had a female invited, but for whatever reason, something came up and she could not be with us tonight. So back to Mr. Helen. I interrupt you. So sorry for that. Go ahead and finish. I guess if you didn't finish that question because I lagged out, go ahead and answer Derek's question.
Yeah, I just personally don't look at, what other people actually do and what they're looking at. I ask God, for a particular thing, and that's what He brought to me. And so I'm not looking at, and I'm fit. I took a fitness test a while back, and I'm in the top probably 30% of the people in America. I mean, I work out 4 days a week, so I'm a very fit person. But that's not what I was looking for when I looked for my spouse. I didn't ask God to bring me a fit person. I asked God to bring me a person that was fit spiritually and emotionally. And just so happened, He gave me a person that's fit. And so I believe we attract what we give off. Nobody that was not fit ever tried to talk to me, even though that really wasn't a priority to me. But that's not my top priority. My top priority is what's on the inside of someone, not necessarily what's on the outside. Because I don't want a trophy wife. I want a wife that loves God, has good character, and that I can be proud to say that she's my wife.
Yeah, I was listening to what Derek said about the millionaire thing, and me and my friend, we used to look at these basketball players. I mean, I'm not handsome. You see, I've been called ugly before, but some of these guys, they just didn't measure up to the women that they had. You would see them, and they would have some of the most beautiful women on the planet, and you would know that, hey, if he wasn't making those millions of dollars, then that was good for her because she didn't have to put up with him but maybe half a year, because the rest of the time he's out on the road playing ball, and she can do what she wants. Got a beautiful home, and entertain a friend or stuff, and you have to these women playing.
So is it fair to say that money plays a big influence? Is that what you're saying?
Sure it does. Especially black women. I mean, if they came up poor and they gonna be giving up the sex anyway, a lot of times it's free. Now, if they can snatch one of these pro basketball players, they just went up top in their family. I mean, they went from the bottom to the top in their family clan, and probably nobody's that rich.
Father God. Father God.
And the women do this. You have to know that they've done that, and their beauty is what does it. Yeah, okay. If these basketball players didn't have some behind them, and they went up to some of these beautiful women, pretty women, man, they would say, "Hey, get back! Don't talk."
But Mr. Ray, Dr. Helen, again, let me be clear with my phraseology about that. The bottom line is men want what they want and like what they like, and don't expect them to go counter to their nature. Is all I was saying.
Well, you can't make a general statement like that. You said you categorize all men, and so that puts me in the same boat. I'm just not in that boat.
I don't remember saying all men.
Well, you said men.
I don't think I said all men are just men. I said most men. But if I did, that was not my intention.
Okay. Good stuff.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah, most men are, especially black men. I mean, a lot of white men, they are bred to try to get the choices women because they're going to inspire them and help them in their family and career. Just like so many of these black guys, they go to college. They using their body they're gonna make money for their family by using their body. And the body is the most fragile thing. But if you're healthy, like Mr. Heller said, you fit. You can go out there and maybe play some basketball and football and have your body be bruised if you're gonna make that money. But what happens is that these sports guys, they go to college, and instead of going on to get a degree, they leave there in their sophomore year because they want the money, and they go out and they go into the draft, and I see them when they get drafted, they be having their head down, and when they get drafted, they go sky high. They are so happy. But fast forward, they got into the league, and they may not have made the cut. You might have thought you was great in college, but once you get to the pros, hey, you got the best of the best there. You got to be, and then a lot of them don't make it. And then the little bonus money that they have, they spend that so fast on their family and their friends and stuff. and they think they're going to have this money coming in, and then they get hurt. Then they get cut. Then now the money is not coming. Now, what are you going to fall back on? You didn't get your college degree. These white guys, they come to college on a scholarship, and they go all the way through there and get that degree. So when they get out there, and if they do make the pros, whenever they do get cut, then I go into my career, what I went to college for. But a lot of these white guys end up back in the hood without any money coming in, and all they have is memories. Oh yeah, I used to play with them and stuff like that. And that's because of the rationale that the families don't have when they send their kids to college. Hey, get your degree first, and then go to the pros. But
all right, let me ask you this. A question came across my personal page, and guys, again, if you're friends to if you like Parks Investigative Live page, please do so and post your comments and questions there. That way I can post them on the screen. But a question did come through on my other page, Mr. Ray. It says, is Mr. Robert Ray married? So I guess someone is curious about the advice you're giving, or are you married or have been, if you want to chime in on that.
No, I can't. I can't find a woman who will worship the ground I walk on. No, I'm not married. But I have been married. And I was married for 7 years. Now, when we fell in love at an Ike and Tina Turner dance in 1967, Ike and Tina Turner show. And it was just her and me from then on. And I was a player then, playboy. You know, my uncle had messed my mind up, keep a pretty car, keep fine clothes, and keep money in your pocket. You always get women, and that was true. But you couldn't get the woman you wanted. But I happened to be blessed enough to fall in love at first sight. But after we got married, and that alcohol was running me, the alcohol spirit running me, and that killed that marriage after 7 years. And it was so painful after the divorce. See, I was still in love with her and still, love with her, but all the fire had gone out. She didn't love me anymore. And boy, that's the most hurting and saddest thing you don't see. I walked over there that Saturday. I went over there Saturday morning, and this guy sitting over there in his pajamas in the house I had bought. And that's just like somebody taking a knife and stabbing you in the heart. And for a long time, now I always want to have me a female and wear, but now I'm so complicated. I don't eat like other people eat. My belief is not like other people, and I do a lot of other unorthodox things that most black men don't do. And I just give us some examples. Oh, just like for instance, the way that I eat, I eat only healthy, organic food, and I only use rationale when I make my decisions on things, and I only move in a rational way. And I want my female to not be envious and jealous of any female. If she mine, she's supposed to be able to hold her head up at all times. And then the black female, they've got to overcome this ain't your mama syndrome by, if something happens, it's not funny, but they, girl, you see that? See, that's why a lot of black men don't want black women, because they'll embarrass them if they went out into a polite, rational company with other white couples. And I just don't see myself going that way anymore. I mean, I've just, got too out of the normal range of black women till I'm not able to deal with them.
Well, I'm curious because a man's number one need is sex. Of course, you want to be married to engage in that, but how have you maintained? I mean, I don't want to get too personal.
I've transcended that. I've transcended the sexual. I've gotten so close into the spiritual realm until I just can't go and have sex with a woman anymore. It just doesn't satisfy me. From now, we have to be friends. I have to be in love with her, because I used to remember when I would have sex with a female, and after I got through having an orgasm, I would really want her to get away. I would want her to come, to leave. Because we didn't have anything else in common. She couldn't talk, on the level that I wanted to talk on, and we just didn't make it. And now I wouldn't take advantage of a female like that. I wouldn't get her and just to have sex anymore. I would try to become friends with her if we had anything in common. Like you say, I'm fit myself. I eat the best food. Here I am. I'm 75. Don't have any health issues. So I couldn't even put up with a woman that had any health issues now. I just couldn't take it. If she had diabetes, or cancer, or any of these diseases, it would bring me down. Unless she was willing to try to heal herself, the way that I know that she can be healed. But if you go on with a female, she don't feel like she has to really do anything.
That's all I was saying.
I know I gotta keep it professional, but I appreciate your honesty, Mr. Ray. That's why I love to have you on. You amaze me. But Mr. Hallett, do you agree with the doc said, or I mean, I don't want to make this out of a debate, or do you want to add on?
No, I'm not gonna even comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Hallett. Go ahead.
It's to each his own. You have to find your own lane, and do you. But I just think everybody's different. So I definitely just appreciate your transparency, man. But I just wanted to bring up one point that somebody mentioned something earlier to kind of put us back on hopefully some on track here a little bit. Derek mentioned that he went to counseling before he got married, and I want to commend you for that. I think this is awesome. But what I do when I coach couples, they go through a 6-week marriage. I call it coaching, not counseling. I call it coaching. They go through a 6-week marriage coaching program. After the program, in order for me to coach them, they have to agree to that week. I still coach them that first year. So we meet once a month that first year, because that first year is usually the hardest. And then after they make it through that first year, they have to agree to coach another couple. And so that's how we really have marriages where you're just not married. You actually can say you're happily married, because you're always feeding you, because what we feed grows, what we starve dies. And so you're feeding you on a continual basis. You're growing, and then you take the time out to help someone else grow. And it's just a powerful principle.
Yeah, I agree. I think every black man needs to have counseling, just on the fact that of the Willie Lynch syndrome, because black men, they just don't know how to be friends. They don't know how to have a relationship with other men. If you get in friend with them and you go over their house and you look at their wife, they think automatically you want to get to the zone. And this is why a lot of black people and black women too, they all need counseling. I say.
I can mention a personal point on that, Parks, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
When I left law enforcement after mentoring this guy here, how many nights, Parks, or early mornings you came over for breakfast?
Several, more than I can count on my hand. I know that.
With the wife there.
yeah. Actually, and I'll chime in, Derek. We started out in law enforcement together. This was back, when I was 21, 22 years old, and Derek had moved on, but still lived in the same area where we was working, and I was working the overnight shift, 6 at night, 6 in the morning. So, and nothing, small town, nothing was open 24 hours, nothing healthy. Now, Mr. Ray, I wasn't eating Whole Foods back then because I was young and dumb, but I had Derek, look, man, you got anything to eat? I'm starving. So he would, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, fix a Waffle House style waffle. Omelet, correct. That's my picture perfect. So anyway, I wanted to brag on that, but go ahead and finish your point.
But yeah, I have to agree with Mr. Ray. We need to learn to form bonds, because a lot of this born out of pathology of not having a father in the house, or a pathology of previous hurts. And people really got to get therapy for that. And I say we all need it, especially after a relationship and after a heartache, because believe it or not, heartache in and of itself is a mental condition. And one of the things that I was taught during my therapy sessions is to understand the fact that people are people. We're all capable of anything at any given moment. And the worst thing you can do is take past hurts into a new relationship.
Let me just make one point when it comes to counseling where I think we dropped the ball at. 99.9% of the time when people go to counseling, they go after something has happened during their marriage. Very seldom, I go to counseling, nothing is wrong. Very seldom when you meet someone that goes to counseling and nothing is actually wrong. They're just going for what I call a tune-up, or they're just going to learn some extra tricks or learn some extra tools that they can implement in their marriage. Because when a man goes to counseling, on a scale of 1 to 10, his issue is about a 9.5, and it's really difficult to come down from that. So I encourage everyone. I think counseling is healthy. It keeps you healthy. Don't just wait till there's a problem. Be preactive or proactive. Go to counseling when everything is going great.
That is a true statement that you that you've made. If we didn't make any more true statements, that was one. Because you have to look at where we come up. I mean, we came up through the Jim Crow era. We came up through the civil rights era with Martin Luther King and all that. And you see what happened to us. I don't know how many piles we done got in our faces trying to get a job. And they would say, hey, we don't hire any Negroes here. And we are the poster child for counseling and therapy. But it's hard to get us in there because everyone has learned their own conduct and behavior coming up in however way they came up, and they try to use that to push their way through the world and make the world conform to them instead of them taking advantage of the things that they could take, like counseling and therapy, and become more. Just like the prisoners that I took through my process out at the prison, they was all screwed up before I got to them. Then they got out after a year of counseling, like Mr. Ellis said, about a year of counseling, and you need about a year. And when they got out of prison, they didn't come back to prison. They went out, took care of business, and took care of their families and their children and everything. And they didn't come back. But the white supremacists did not want this. They got me out of the prison just as quick as they possibly could. And they got black people to do it. Get up on the witness stand and lie on an individual. Now put your hand on the Bible, and one of them was a minister and said that I assaulted someone. And I had a video that showed that I didn't do it. And this is the way that black people can easily be bought and swayed by white people. And that's why we need a lot of counseling in grace.
All right, well, guys, we've been on about an hour, and trying to keep the program within that time frame so we can keep the viewers' attention focused. So I really appreciate all the comments. Got a little off track somewhat, but hey, there's nothing wrong with that. When you're doing live, it's not pre-recorded. You might have some things, just like my daughter coming into the camera, but everything is good, guys. I really appreciate Mr. Helen. Before you go. Well, I'll tell you what, before we talk about the books that you have on Amazon, I do want to, at the beginning of the program, I was talking to you guys about the incident with the U.S. Marshal. You and Mr. Ray said you didn't see it. I'm going to post that video. I think I finally got it uploaded to my system. I'm going to show that video real quick, man. It's not dealing with relationship, but I want to show that video because I thought it was very important to talk about some of the news topic that has happened over the last week. So stand by, guys.
That's the one you took such dick, right?
Oh my God, for you, my
Good
morning.
Good morning, big motherfucker. That's the one you took such dick, right?
Oh my God, for you, my
Good morning, big motherfucker.
See, this is the reason. This is the main reason that I want to get systemic racism training to the police department.
Right. Let me say this. Let me say this real quick, and I'll let everybody chime in. Myself and along with Derek, we're in law enforcement. Now, I cannot condone this type of behavior for whatever reason. This officer should be fired immediately and also charged. And now, in regards to the arrest, I think what the story read was that the young man was charged with a brutal crime of killing a homicide of two individuals, one being a 5-year-old kid. So, and I can understand the emotions that law enforcement deal with when you have to, go on these search warrants or arrest warrants, or witness, or looking at a child being brutally murdered that is senseless. Well, any murder is senseless, but definitely a child. So I can understand the tension there and the the temper flaring, but you got to hold that in as a law enforcement, as a professional. I'm very bothered by this video because, one, it was a black man, and we know the issues that's been going on in this country dealing with abuse of power. It seems to be with minorities, individuals. This was devastating, and I know we're all subject with relationship, but this made the news a few days ago, and I thought it was very important to show. Mr. Helen, I know you said you didn't see this, and
yeah, I saw it briefly.
Okay,
I did.
okay.
I saw it briefly. I didn't see the details of it though. Yeah, I think
right.
I did see it briefly.
And if you listen to that video closely, you can. And I'm not, of course, there's profanity in it, but I believe the marshal or one of the individual, when the guy was like, "Oh, you hit me in my face," they said, "Well, I don't give a D." So I heard Mr. Ray said he want to implement his systemic racism training. But Derek, being law enforcement, I want you to chime in first. What are your thoughts?
Okay, if you look at the video real close, if you look in the background, he ain't the only one that's quote unquote get.
That's the one you said sucks dick, right?
Oh my God, for you, my
Good
buddy,
morning. Good morning, big motherfucker.
But yeah, the what has happened is that particular guy has been nothing but a menace in that entire community. He shot and killed a man that was working on a vehicle, trying to make a living, trying to make money. He shot and killed him. Then he was shooting at another boy, shot him in the hand. In the whole process, he shot a little 5-year-old kid at the store, probably getting some candy or ice cream or whatever. And one of the most gut-wrenching things that they showed on social media, because somebody went live with it, was the mother scooping her child up and trying to carry him to safety. And I think, emotions got involved. I mean, I've been there, Parks, you've been there. I mean, a lot of times, some of these little punk thugs that need a good whooping. So I get what you're saying, Mr. Ray. It ain't right, but
Right.
yeah, but we can't. I understand we got to keep our cool, but at the end of the day, okay.
It's the same way with me. When an individual come to me and he's been having sex with his little daughter, down inside I say this is the most demonic. He should be taken out and hung up by his gonads and stuff like that. But I can't do that. I gotta bring him in there, go through his mind, see what his motive was, and see how he got caught up in this type of infernal lust, and then try to bring him back out so that he may, at some point in time, develop a relationship, a real rational, loving relationship with his daughter again. But it's no guarantee. But I can't just condemn him and ostracize him, because I have to be professional. And these guys, these police officers, that's what I want to bring to Marine Police. It's professional. They want to be peace officers. When you go out to deal with these little black guys, and some of them are just a menace to society. Just like Sly used to say in the song, one of them will be someone who like to learn, and the other one somebody you like to burn. And this is what it's like. But you got to be professional when you are a police officer. Especially.
I'm not denying that at all. But again, we love not to look at the entire human factor involved on both sides of the fence. And here comes the coddling for the young man. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm like Parks. I don't condone it. But good Lord, people are human at the end of the day. And emotions can, and in a lot of cases will, take control. Let's look at the human factor. I mean, I'm not condoning any of it. But,
can I chime in real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
You can probably pick instances on each side of the equation. But I never forget when Dale and Ruth went into that black church. and he killed 9 innocent black people. They were praying. They prayed with him. They invited him in. They loved on him. And he took out a gun and killed them. And I just found it amazing how that it was just a peaceful arrest. So,
okay, I get that. And people have been saying that on my blog.
My point is, when it comes to us, the emotions get the best of them. That's what it appears to be. I'm not saying it's like that in every case, but when it comes to people that look like them, they have a little bit more patience.
Different location, different agency. I mean, different location, different agency. Everybody say, "Oh, they bought him a cheeseburger." Well, don't you know that in a lot of sheriff's departments as well as municipal jails, they have to provide them with a meal before they incarcerate them? Now, nobody wanted to ask that. There was procedure. Okay, it didn't look good taking him to Burger King, but are you going to arrest a man when he's been hiding and starving? Knowing that your policy states that they have to have a meal upon incarceration?
I'm not even talking about the fact that I'm just talking about it just was a peaceful arrest. They didn't hit him. Okay. They didn't beat him. It was just peaceful.
Well, we don't know what happened inside the house either. I'm not condoning any of it. But then again, I don't think a menace to society should be, coddled either.
Yeah, but these individuals, like I say, they have bad mental health. I mean, you got a continuum. If these people don't slip down on the continuum to where that they are capable of doing these things, then somebody didn't catch them up here and give them what they needed, and that was counseling and therapy. Now, when you slip down here in the straitjacket area and the homicidal area, then it's too late. It's too late then. So if you don't get the individual before he slides down on that continuum, then chances are you're not going to be able to save him at all. He's going to be going to prison for so long a time till he's not going to be worth anything if he ever gets out.
Mr. Ray, do you remember a guy who used to be in Meridian on a radio station, WSLY, Jim Lawson? Do you remember Jim Lawson?
Yes, I do.
Jim Lawson, he used to always say on his radio program, "Let's Talk with Jim Lawson." They called it. He said, "What make these children want to be so bad?" Jim Lawson, the only way he could, he said he would always answer, "Because y'all wouldn't let me issue my license." And he's like, "What do you mean? There ought to be a license to have children. Y'all not be able to just not being able to just lay up and just have kids, with impunity, and the government has to take care of them. There has to be, it sounds Orwellian, but he made a lot of sense when he used to say that. He said, the reason why these kids are so bad and they're out of control is because y'all wouldn't let me issue my license."
Yeah, it was genuinely true about the kids. If you got teenage girls having babies, and once these guys get to be 12 and 13, they can no longer control or help these guys, and they just do what they want to do. But until society steps in. See, that's what happened when that guy was walking out there and he got slapped in the face. Society stepped in at that point in time. And
reality slapped him.
Yeah, she should have been, the mother should have been doing that back a long time ago. Either you're going to behave here in this house or you're going to get out of here. Buck the house if it offends you. That's what you got to do.
All right. And I didn't mean we could do a whole nother show on that. I just we talked about it at the beginning of the program. I was late getting the video uploaded to the live stream. And I'm also uploading another video, and if time forbids, we'll show that. That's in regards to the interview Tate Reeves had with CNN's Jake Tapper. But if we don't get to that, we can do this in another section. But I just find those two different news stories that made headlines very disturbing. One is, the disregard or the nonchalant attitude from the governor in regards to Mississippi being the second worst per capita response to the virus, and including the deaths related to the virus. So that is a very tragic number that Mississippi is facing, being as Jake Tapper would put it, if Mississippi was a country by itself, we would be the second worst country in the world in regards to the new Delta variant and the deaths related to that. So very disturbing numbers there. But guys, Don't look like that video.
Yeah,
Get it
let me say
uploaded.
something about our governor. He's not really qualified to be a governor. I don't know how he got that position because I knew it when we were running there. He wasn't qualified to do it, and it just goes to show you that he did. Now he stopped the people for unemployment, $300 a week that the federal government was giving people in Mississippi. He stopped that because he wanted to force these individuals to go back to work. That was just so cruel. These are the kind of things you don't do. And then fudge the mask mandate. He's seen people 30 going to the hospital, 30 dying, and he going with what Trump is saying. When everybody knows Trump is an idiot. So what we got, like I said, we don't just have the dumbest kids on the planet. We got the dumbest governing officials on the planet, and that's why people suffer so in this Mississippi, in this state. That's all I got to share about that, and I'm anxious to move on.
All right, guys. One final thought, Mr. Helen, before we get out of here.
Well, thank you for having me. I just want to, you mentioned something earlier about the number one need of men. I want to go over the basic needs of men and basic needs of women real quick. The number one basic need of a man is not necessarily sex, it's actually respect. Sex is second. Friendship is third. Support is fourth. For women, their number one need is security, open and honest communication, non-sexual affection, and leadership. That's all I can leave you guys with.
Okay.
Outstanding. Then where did you find those numbers at for those who want to reference those?
Those numbers?
Yeah, where did you get those statistics? I'm sorry.
That comes from a marriage expert by the name of Jimmy Evans. So you Google Jimmy Evans and put that in there, and he'll kind of discuss that. He's one of those marriage experts.
Right, and then before we go, we forgot, I mentioned it earlier in the program, but if you're interested in purchasing one of Richard Helen's book, one I would recommend is Marriage and Relationship Success. Richard will tell you more about how you can get this book. I purchased mine through Amazon, but Richard, if you want to talk about that book.
Yeah, just Google my name /Amazon, Richard Helen /Amazon. You can pick up. I got 3 books on there. Marriage and Relationship Success is intentional. If you lead, people will follow. And Life, Love, and Leadership. And so, yeah, there's some pretty good books, man. I can't imagine you reading any of them and not coming away a little bit better. So, and they're cheap.
And I think I have a copy. I just want to pull it up. Let me pull this up real quick. That's a
handsome guy right there, man.
Yeah, there we go. If you read, people will follow. That is also a book, one of the 3 books that Richard mentioned, and that's one of the ones I have here that I've read. Very interesting book, very good book for those. But again, since we were dealing with relationship and counseling, we want to definitely encourage you to look up this book here, Marriage. Let's see if that out of the glare. Can you guys see that good? Marriage and Relationship Success. Another book written by yours truly, Mr. Richard Helen. So, guys, he told you how you can purchase that book on Amazon. Put in Richard Helen / Amazon, and it should pull up those 3 books that he's offering. And I would strongly encourage you to purchase one of those books. Mr. Ray, you should be the first buyer.
Okay, look, I hear it. But the last thing I want to share with you females is don't just give up your zone every time the man wants it. You're going to lose him for sure. He's going to go out and start cheating on you. And I say to the males, when you go out and start cheating on your wife, just realize that she's going to be you're making a whore out of her because society is going to label her as your whore you got at home. So just think about it when you decide to go out and cheat on your wife.
All right, Derek, one final thought.
I just wanted to reiterate what Mr. Ray said. Make respect a requirement. Plain and simple. One of the things that get me nowadays with these new age couples is when they meet a guy, it's like Mr. Ray said, they give him the greatest gift that you can ever give a man, and that's children and your body and your womb. But yet you don't make marriage and respect a requirement and then wonder why, things are the way they are. No, make marriage and respect a requirement. And then once they do all this, and then once she has a child, a man gets a ghost. You ask them, they say, well, where's the child's father? Oh, we're not together. We're co-parenting. Man, people throw that word co-parenting out like they throw out entrepreneur or how they throw out community organizer and then organize a single thing. No, don't try to soften the blow. You made a mistake. Go get therapy. Go get counseling and do better.
So true.
All right, well, guys, you heard it from the panel. Again, we really appreciate your time. I know we spent a little over an hour. We talked about a lot of things before we got into relationships. And, of course, this topic was dealing with relationship counseling part 2. But I thought it was important to bring up those other 2 issues there that we was facing in our country. But again, guys, let's remember to pray for those who are suffering, who are currently positive for the COVID-19 or the Delta variant. That virus seemed to still be lagging or lingering around, I should say, for lack of better words. And it's affected Mississippians a lot more than other states. So let's remember those who are, and again, for those who are for the vaccine, I would encourage you to get vaccinated. Myself got vaccinated through the Moderna, got the Moderna, the 2-shot series to the Moderna, and I would encourage you to do as well. And I was skeptical at first, but after looking at the research and just looking at all the people who was dying that I knew personally around here, it really changed my mindset of it because I'm not ready to go, and I know a lot of us are not ready to go. But I feel like the vaccine was there. I was going to take my chance of getting vaccinated instead of possibly catching the virus. So and again, I know it's still possible to still catch the virus being vaccinated, but I still want to bet my chances being vaccinated and possibly not having symptoms if that was to happen. So, guys, remember those families. So remember the ones who have lost loved ones. So here locally, and I know it's all across the world, especially in the nation, but here locally, the virus has been detrimental here in the city of Meridian or surrounding areas, Lauderdale County, Newton County. Several people I know personally that has succumbed to that virus. So let's remember those as before we end this program.
What do you think the reason for that is that they're not taking the vaccine or what?
Well, I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination of a lot of things.
37% is doing it. 37% is the amount that have taken the vaccine. So it would be a lot more because the only thing the vaccine does is give you the edge. Just no guarantee. It just gives you the edge.
Right. And again, like I said, I would bet my chance against that. But Mr. Helen, if you would unmute your mic and take us out in prayer. And for those who are tuning in, you can stay on until we finish our prayer. And thank you for watching. For those who are still on live, I still see some live viewers on my YouTube channel as well as my Facebook, my 2 Facebook pages. So thank you for tuning in. And Mr. Helen, if you would take us out in prayer, guys, thank you so much. Once he ends prayer, we can leave this. If you want to meet me in the back screen and have a conversation, I'll stay on for a few more minutes. So, Mr. Helen, if you would take us out.
Father God, we just thank you for the opportunity to share with those that were inclined to watch. And our hope and prayer is always that anytime we come before our group of people, your people, and that we share anything, that it impacts someone, that it may change their life. We don't want to give information and it's not applicable. And so, Father, we thank you for the opportunity. Like I said before, we just hope and pray that something pierce someone's consciousness to make them look at relationships differently. Because, Father, we know that you didn't put us together just so that we could be separated. And so we want you to strengthen these relationships so we can strengthen these families. And when families are strengthened, we know that our communities are strengthened. We know this nation will be strengthened. So, Father God, we just thank you. And we can't thank you enough. In these words, we say, amen.